Good morning. It is August 27th, 5 days left. Kyle's on vacation, so we have guest hosts all this week. Today, I get to spend a little time with our friend, Steve Greenfield. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Always good to be back.
All right. It's kind of an eventful time in general. Winding the summer up. In upstate New York, our kids don't go back to school for until after Labor Day. But I know a lot of places in the South, kids started school like weeks ago. I'm seeing back to school pictures, and that kind of triggers all types of things in the auto industry, doesn't it?
Anxiety from when I was in middle school, man. It's like I hated going back to school. It was fraught with oh, I don't know if people are going to accept me, and all the insecurities come out this time of year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and all the flashbacks. Without a doubt, though, it's like the shifting of the seasons, the shifting of the car sale seasons, the shifting of the routines. Right, summer is winding down, and all the routines that happen with OEM meetings and events in the industry and rolling through. I feel like now it's everyone's about to be like, okay, shake off the summer and kind of get focused throughout the end of this year. So we have a few things going on. I'm not going to announce a thing that I want to announce really bad, but we'll wait until everybody else. Nathan's like, don't you dare. I'll tell you after the show, Steve.
Come on.
I'll tell you after the show. but we do have some new content coming out. We have an In the Dirt. It's one of our podcasts, In the Dirt by Asodu. We're talking with Matt Jones from TrueCar and kind of what they're building.
Great guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's amazing. What they're building at TrueCar Plus.
I got to work with that guy, and he's really an awesome person.
Where did you work with him?
At TrueCar. I was there for 2 years.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. And those paths overlapped.
I worked with Carrie out there, and yeah, we had a great time.
I got it. What was your role at TrueCar?
Head of strategy and acquisitions.
That does not surprise me one bit. And then, so you got the friends there. Matt has a great perspective on analyzing consumer behavior. And obviously they have a lot of data. So they do a lot with that. And it's an interesting episode. You should check it out. Also, we're putting that. It's also on our LinkedIn page. If you don't follow Asodu on LinkedIn, that's probably the best place to keep up to date with the drip feed of what's going on and just hearing from some great place. We have a vlog out. Jordan Cox, we're now deploying him all over the country. I'm going to name him the nicest guy in the automotive industry, Steve. He's taking your title.
It's killing me. Is he Canadian?
No, but he could be. No, but he could be.
Canadian.
Definitely an honorary Canadian. I don't know what part of Canada the accent is from, but it's not the same issue. So we got a lot going on. And then obviously September, there's a lot of travel. We hope to see you out where we're going to be. We're going to be at the VintQ Unleashed event. We're going to be at the Welcome Conference, which is Will Guidara's hospitality conference in New York City. And I would say I wish everybody could be there, but tickets are sold out, and they have been for a while now. But we'll bring back the good stuff just for you. As usual, we have some news. And actually, we're starting the day off with some good news coming from CDK. How's that feel? CDK
good.
Global has reported that 2 significant cyberattacks, the ones that happened in June, did not result in the theft of any dealership employee or consumer data following this third-party expert review, despite the widespread disruption that happened. They said, quote, "We are pleased to report, concluding thorough third-party expert review on June 19th cyber incident, we have not discovered a compromise of reportable dealer, employee, or consumer personally identifiable information." Basically, that was the 2-week shutdown. We all remember it. It was 2 weeks. It felt like 2 months, affecting 15,000 dealerships. They did end up offering a 1-month rebate of fees to the dealership customers impacted. Some dealers felt it was insufficient. Some dealers were fine with it. Basically, they're working hard to minimize future risks. But the spokesperson that said that last thing also added dealers can now reassure both their employees and consumers their data is secure and continue to focus on providing excellent experiences through the car buying and owning journey. So that's some good news, I think.
Well, thank goodness for that. I mean, they needed some good news. But I mean, do we know, or will we ever know, how many dealers actually accepted the one month free rebate?
I think any dealers that aren't involved in a lawsuit probably accepted it.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't think they're releasing a count, and I don't think they ever will. But right. I know there was some litigation really early on, while the hack was still ongoing, right? People were filing things. And I don't know what happened on any of those, if they ended up settling or if there's been a settlement or judgment. I just haven't seen anything about it. But I'm assuming
I imagine the public groups may have to disclose that, in their next quarterly earnings, in terms of if they settle with CDK. But that might be, to your point, the only data that we ever get.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of dealers have moved on. Like, you know, like sometimes dealers are like, okay, we did the thing, we got upset, but we were really focused on what we're doing as a business. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of dealers just took it, moved on, and are kind of just hoping for the best. And maybe probably, I'm sure the CDK reps are getting leaned on a little bit more than they usually have for little favors, little this, little that. And, you know, so we have what, 4 months, 4.5 months till NADA. So I think we'll be in person with a lot of CDK folks and a lot of dealers. And as long as nothing else happens, like this will probably just be ancient history and probably result in some better practices and procedures for dealers across the board.
Yeah, fingers crossed we don't have another catastrophic event this fall. Let's knock on wood.
Yes, let's do that. Hey, you have a new book coming out, Steve, The Future of Mobility. It's we went on from the future of automotive. Now it's the future of mobility, exploring the next 10 years and basically how we're going to move people and goods around by land, sea, air, and space. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and what your thinking is around it?
Yeah, so in the first book I wrote, I was surprised that no one had written that book yet, and The Future of Automotive Retail. And it kind of begged for this book to be written as well. So this thing's going to be about 4 times as large. And that's why, you know, I'd hope to get this thing out by the end of the year. And it's taken this long to go through all the editing process, but it's with the publisher. So, you know, sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should have actually the first physical copies of this thing. So we'll definitely have copies to be able to distribute at NADA this year. And I'm super excited. It's a lengthy tome for sure, but I mean, the story has to be written. There's so much change going on across the whole mobility spectrum. And whether you look at micromobility or electrification of both vehicles and just transport in general, the implications on aviation, you know, eVTOLs, electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles that many of the automakers are innovating and working on today. You know, you look at the marine space and autonomy on boats, and you know, decarbonization across boats and how boats will be powered in the future. And even we touch on aviation and space, right, with what Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX and some of the innovations there. So it begged to be done, and it's been a long work, but I'm really looking forward to getting it out and then getting on stage at some of these conferences and talking through not only the future of automotive, but putting it in the context of the broader mobility spectrum.
Yes. So this is the future of automotive. And that's, I mean, that's a solid 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick. So if it's 4 times the size of this, who's going to be carrying these around NADA to hand them out? How are you going to do that?
Well, the tougher question is, I think my audio book was like 6 hours for the future of automotive. So we're talking like a 24-hour audio book or something. It's like the poor people that have to listen to that. But I mean, it took me a full weekend, as you can imagine. As you can imagine, more than any, you know, it took me a full weekend to get that thing recorded. And then
so you read it? You didn't have it like James Earl Jones or
No, I read it. So that's my voice. If you get, you know, go on Audible. Or listen to the audio track for that book. And I'm going to record this next one too. But man, I am not looking forward to that weekend. I'm going to be well caffeinated.
Oh, I mean, it's funny. Nathan, our producer, is typing in show notes as you speak. Like, why don't we use an AI clone voice of Steve Greenfield? We can do it.
Oh, there we go. No,
we can do it.
I'll give you a royalty on that one. If you can save me a whole weekend's worth of work.
Yeah. What's the ROI of a week of Steve Greenfield in the field? I think that's a pretty sweet deal.
There you go. Nathan and I need to hook up and discuss.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. How does this give us one thing on like how you think paying attention to the broader spectrum of like what does space travel or space shipping and boat decarbonization have to do with car dealers?
Well, no, good. I know your audience is primarily dealers, right? So, I mean, you got to keep an eye on whether there will be substitutes for, you know, regular passenger vehicle sales. 15 years ago, you know, many of the consultants said that by now all the cars on the road would be fully autonomous and, you know, on demand, and consumers wouldn't need to buy new cars, right? And that would be incredibly disruptive to franchise dealers. So I think shame on any dealer that isn't kind of staying abreast of all these trends. Space travel is not going to impact your business, as you know, marine won't as well. But you know, a good example, maybe not a great example, but for electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, eVTOLs, if they catch on, you know, in certain dense urban areas, you know, it may be a substitute for people using their passenger vehicles to commute every day, right? So I think that none of the stuff in the book is going to be immediately disruptive to dealers. A lot of it could be just of interest to stay abreast of. But there are themes out there. Electrification, maybe the most notably, but autonomous as well. The dealers better be paying attention to, because it may not be for 5 years, but within a 10-year span, some of these themes may start manifesting and having an impact on their business.
Yeah, and I think this next generation is just more of a heads up generation in general with the availability of information and things like that. So it feels like I've even heard dealers talk about being ones to retail eVTOL vehicles, right? Especially some of these manufacturers. And that seems like a reality. I know in Syracuse here, we have an FAA approved drone corridor, which is the largest in the country, where they can test drones with minimal permits and all that. And I was talking to, I'm friends with the COO of our Syracuse airport, and he was saying we have one of the only approved sites that is next to an airport where these vertical takeoff and landing vehicles can actually, they're already approved to operate, to be tested, to be, test driven, if you will. And so like, I don't know, maybe in Syracuse we'll be one of the first eVTOL dealers, but only like 9 months out of the year, because I don't think people want to fly those things in the snow.
Yeah, eVTOLs, I don't know what the actual consumer demand is going to be, but dealers will be selling them, because you've got manufacturers like Hyundai, for example, that are going to be building these things. But maybe more practically on the other end of the continuum, I think that dealers will also be selling e-bikes, right? Branded e-bikes. And there is demand for those, and there's tax incentives for those. So, I mean, enterprising dealers may figure out ways to effectively create new profit margins from selling e-bikes.
Yeah, it's really a segment that sits between like a motorcycle and a regular bike that you don't need a special license for. That's much easier to park and store, much less. It's cheaper. So yeah, especially in some areas. All right, well, we got one more story. Speaking of autonomy and AI.
Segue.
Time.
All right. A high school in London is shaking up education by introducing AI teachers, including ChatGPT, to replace human teachers for some students aiming to personalize their learning experience. David Game College, I like the fact that it's called David Game College, it just feels right, is piloting the AI-driven program with 20 students focusing on subjects, English, mathematics, and science. Basically, the AI is going to provide personalized learning paths, allowing students to learn at their own pace. John Dalton, co-principal, emphasized the approach could enhance student confidence and mental health by enabling them to master subjects without the pressure of a teacher or the other students having to go at the same pace. They're going to receive human support through full-time learning coaches, they're saying. So there'll be like a couple learning coaches to so many students. Critics are saying, you can't fully replace humans. But John Dalton, co-principal of the college, said the system does not judge students, instead allows them to learn at their own pace in a safe environment. And they're basically going to do this for a year, and then they're going to take these standardized tests, and we're going to see where everything lands.
Yikes. Remember back. So one of my favorite albums of all time was 1984 by Van Halen. And there was a track on there, Hot for Teacher. And I can only imagine the abuse that these students will give to these AI engines when they know that there's no human watching. And can you imagine the questions that they're going to be asked? It brings a new level of sex education to the classroom.
Yeah, I think, they did say ChatGPT. They didn't say Grok, right? We're not going to let Grok in. Right. No, yeah, Grok is not approved for the classroom at this point.
No.
No Grok in the classroom. I do think we're starting to see this in some auto products that I've seen, where they have these AI engaged learning paths that are getting pretty sophisticated with, walk around training, sales training that watches facial expression, that, says, oh, this delivery was good, this was bad. And so all the role playing, I'm seeing AI tools now stepping in and saying people can train on sales and process through role playing with AI without first of all, you don't need 2 people. So it's half the manpower. But secondly, it's like you're able to do it in an environment where you're comfortable. So these tools are coming into automotive for sure. Steve, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I know you got to run to your next meeting. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
All right, everybody, get out there, sell some cars, love some people, and pay attention to the future of mobility.